Good morning. Happy Thursday to all the folks out there. Thank you for joining us today on the Wise Agent Society's National Real Estate Update. Today we have our esteemed and one of our favorite guests, Aaron Gordon, who happens to be with Guild Mortgage out of Las Vegas, Nevada, and then California and multiple other states he's licensed in as well. And a friend of mine, and he's an expert on all things um, mortgage wise and others. He just has so much information about the national markets and local markets, and he just studies data all day, every day. And he's also a TikTok famous guy out there. David, what's your handle on TikTok?
Aaron knows home loans.
Aaron knows home
Aaron
loans.
knows,
So
and,
check him
and
out
on
on there.
and on Instagram. So there's like and on Facebook. So on TikTok there's like 29,000 followers. On Instagram like 7,000, and then Facebook like 347,000. Facebook
Wow.
you gotta go to at aaron.gordon.186. I don't have like a unique handle on that.
Oh, well, God, you're up 300 and on Facebook?
I know it's crazy, right? It's
That's
been
crazy.
less than 2 years.
Last time we talked, it was like seriously like not that much.
Yeah, I think it was probably like 200,000. I mean, sometimes it just goes in spurts, and so yeah, there's a lot of followers at this point.
Well, good. We're putting out good content, and I think probably, and you'll agree, it's the most important part is just you're consistent with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. If you're going to do social media, you got to be super consistent, and then the socials reward you for that because they're just looking for content. So, but obviously it has to find an audience, and I've been fortunate to find an audience, especially in the last year, Shay, because there's a lot more uncertainty. So because there's been more uncertainty, people tend to go for more information and try to figure out, should I or shouldn't I, or what should I be doing? And so it's gone pretty well the last for year for me on that end of it, versus on the mortgage and real estate side where it's been a lot slower, obviously because of interest rates.
Yeah, you're right. You hit the nail on the head, I think. In my business and what I do is with a lot of coaching and consulting and mentoring of agents is right now people need help. Agents need help. Consumers need help. It's a tricky time. And
Yeah.
so you're right. One of our most valuable value adds or things that we can offer people is helping them and giving them knowledge and just helping them to navigate through these weird waters we're in.
Yeah, information is so key today because it doesn't feel like the right time to buy a house, right? To me, it feels like a great time to sell a house. So, I know there's a lot of people that don't want to sell their house because they're like, well, if I sell, where do I go?
Yeah.
But you have a tremendous opportunity today to seize the most equity you could possibly seize. So yeah, there's some, I saw a recent report from Zillow that they feel like home prices are going to go up 6% next year, 7% the year after. There are some reports now of people starting to think that home prices are going to go up, but you never know. And right now there's not a lot of home inventory. And so there's not a lot of home inventory because people are afraid to sell, because then they got to go step into a 7% rate or an 8% rate when they go buy a new house. But if you walk with 300,000 or 400,000 or 500,000 or whatever the crazy number is built into your house today, and you probably will get it, whatever you think the max is, you'll probably get it because there's not a lot of competition in most neighborhoods. And then you're okay to pay a better, higher rate the next few years, and to see what happens, or you just sit on the sidelines and wait with your cash in hand. So I'm a little surprised by that, Shay, that there's so many people holding on to that because when rates do come down, and they will, it could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be whatever, that will create more buyers, it will also create more sellers. And so, if there's 10 homes in your neighborhood for sale, you're all not going to get the highest number. So
Right.
I think right now is a tremendous opportunity. I know it's difficult because where do you go next? But for those that are a little bit more flexible and can move, I think you got to try. I just did myself. I had a vacation home in Colorado. I love that house. It does really well in the rental market. but there's literally nothing for sale in my area of Colorado. And so my agent called me and said, have you thought about selling it? And I said, no, but what do you think I could get? And she told me I could get like 15% more than I even thought it was worth. You know what,
Wow.
Shay? I listed it for 25% more than what Zillow said, Redfin said, everybody said. I ended up getting into a multiple offer situation, a bidding war
Wow.
with 3 people, and they drove it up 60,000 more. So,
Wow.
yeah, so on one hand, I'm bummed. I don't have my vacation home in Colorado. I lost the income, but I sold it for more than I ever expected selling it for. And so, you know, we'll see a couple of years from now if that was the right decision. But it feels like today, you know, you look, you never cry over a big profit. And so, you know, God bless the next guy if he makes more.
Yeah, Aaron and I did the same thing. I just sold my house in San Diego, and it still is because I know what that's going to do in the next 20 years. Time, it's like kind of like cashing out. You're taking your money off the table in
Right.
Vegas, and then now you're playing with house money.
There's that money, right?
So it's not money anymore. This is all profit. This is all house money. You can go out and redo that in a different way. Or let's watch and see what. This is a great time to be sitting with, you know, the cash flush and be ready
Yeah.
for an opportunity.
Yeah, and like a CD pays 4.5%, 5% today. Even if you're the most conservative person in the world and you go make 200,000 in your house, you can make 10 grand a year on a CD, you know, and so that replaces rentals or whatever. And so, yeah, and so it's you know, it's funny how people kind of get a little tied to that, but you know, you use a perfect analogy. It's like starting with $1,000 and going on a Vegas trip. And you say to yourself, if I get this bad boy up to $1,500, I'm going to take my money and step off the pass lot, step off of the tables. And all of a sudden you go on this run and your 1,000 turned into 3,000, right? And so take it, get out of there before the odds start to work the other way. You know, so many people will be like, now I'm going to turn my 3 into 4 and I'm going to turn my 4 into 6. You know, at some point, you know, you get a little greedy and you could turn the other way. And so maybe not. But but I think that, you know, if you own your home today and you have a lot of equity and you are a little flexible and able to move, I wouldn't worry about interest rates, right? Because you're going to get a grip of money on this side, pay a little higher rate over here, and know that when rates come down, you will refinance, and it could be a few years, but there will be a cycle of rates coming down again. Keep your credit up.
No, I agree, and it's not a bad time in this uncertain time where, I mean, like, what the government's trying to do is trying to make the economy not so good on purpose. And we just about this before, is they generally tend to overcorrect. So, and that we go into more of a recession type style. What a bad idea, you're sitting on a pile of cash.
Right.
You know, if you have the equity and you can pull it out, it's a good time to have that money.
Yeah, if you lived in the house 2 of the last 5 years, there's probably not going to be a tax consequence, so it's tax-free money. And so I agree with you. I mean, you know, now, you know, is recession coming? Is it not coming? I mean, now there's a lot more people thinking it's not coming. But if it comes, and whether it doesn't come, the economy will cool at some point. The economy is still very hot, except for, you know, the real estate side, it's not as hot, but the rest of the economy is kind of humming along, and so that's the reason why interest rates are staying higher. But it'll turn. There will be the time, and that's certain. And you know, the question is when. And so, you know, this is an environment for home sellers for sure. And I don't know that it comes again. You know, so you know, I'm not telling you to go out and sell your house tomorrow. I'm just saying that, you know, why not explore? Talk to
It might make sense.
right? Talk to
It could make
sense. Look at the numbers. See what makes sense. You may say, hey, look, you may say the average home in my neighborhood goes for 450, but I really need 550 to walk. What hurts to put it on the market? Chances are it won't sell, but you know what? So you got some people keep it in your house for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever long you want to give it. You get your number, why not? Right? So
you know, funny trick too. This is a different topic, but for any real estate agent out there that's new or, you know, desperate, or like, look, they are in need of houses to hold open and all that stuff, and you don't know what to do, hold your own house open.
Yeah,
it's a great idea. So put it on the market, and you I've talked about this in the past, put it for a higher price that's you want to pay that, you would sell it.
Yeah.
And then hold it open for every day for a month, 30 days or something. Now that's a different topic. That's a strategy for real estate agents, but
Well, and also, Shay, it's important to know. So, like, Google your house, check it out on Zillow, whatever. See if anybody in your neighborhood's for sale. Look, if there's homes in your neighborhood for sale that are similar to yours and they're lower priced, and you're not sure, that's probably not the best situation. But if you live in a popular neighborhood and there's nothing for sale in your neighborhood, and you're the only home for sale in your neighborhood, trust me, there are people that are waiting for homes for sale in every neighborhood in America almost. And so,
yep,
you know, there are people who have alerts waiting for a house to come on the market. And you don't know what's like my situation in Colorado. I walked into 3 people, all had 1031 exchanges.
oh wow,
They all had this need to find a house ASAP because the clock ticks on a 1031 exchange.
yep,
You only have 45 days to pick a property, 180 days to close. So
mhm,
these 3 people needed to buy a house, and whatever their exchange was, they had to pay more than the last one, or they had to
mhm,
value more than the last one. So I ended up in the perfect situation. You may end up in that same situation, looking to sell your house. If there's nothing for sale in your neighborhood, you got the right buyer who has an alert set up. Like Shay said, what does it hurt to put on the market and have a couple open houses and see what happens? At least test the waters. Know what you're sitting on.
yeah. Yeah, no, all of those are good things. And then you know what conversely is funny is that it's actually a kind of a good time to buy right now too, if you can do that, just because there's a lot of competition
Yeah,
out there as far as buyers and stuff with the interest rates being higher.
yeah,
There's some people that are on the sidelines and waiting on the fence everybody wants the rates to go lower. Well, when the rates do go lower, then everybody's going to be out there trying to buy a house,
yeah,
driving prices way up, and you're going to have all that multiple offer situation that you were lucky to get in on your one you sold, but it's going to be on just every house everywhere. And so, people aren't thinking quite clearly enough that now is a good time to buy when there's less competition and less, craziness over paying over appraised value and that kind of thing. So, depending on your situation, as long as you can afford the payment, you wouldn't be so hard set on just getting the best rate ever, as we've talked about in the past. Marry the house, date the rate,
yeah,
right? So get the house at a lower price now, since stuff is a little cooler, depending on your market, depending on your area, of course.
yeah.
And then worry about the interest rate a little bit
Yeah,
later.
or name your, or like you just said, look, you don't have to buy a house, but if you say, I've always wanted to be in this neighborhood, and if I could get it at this price, I would go in. Well, make a couple offers. You don't know what's going to happen. Don't be dissuaded by the news.
Yeah,
You don't know what one person's situation is. So, and it's funny because, I've been doing this now 21, 22 years. There's never been a good time to buy a house. Like, even when it was an amazing time, when you look back on it, like you didn't know it was an amazing time. There's always a reason to say no. There's always some reason, like you're saying, is this going to last? Is this going to happen? I mean, there's always that. So you never know until you look back. And I always love telling the story, Shannon. If I told you the story before, excuse me, but I always love telling the story of 2008 in Vegas. And we were ground zero for the mortgage crisis. I mean, literally, Vegas had imploded. Like, I mean, I don't know, I can't remember what the number was, but 50 or 60% of people had a short sale or foreclosure. It was just brutal,
yeah.
right?
I got into the game right after that.
Yeah, and
Oh,
so home prices were plummeting. Like, I think it landed. I think the average home price was like 400 at one point. It got down to like 150 or 130 or one. I mean, it literally plunged. And we
yep.
had this client come in, and he's like, Aaron, how many finance properties can I have? And I'm like, back at the time, I think you could have 10 on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
Wow.
Like 10. And he goes, well, I'm looking for my 10th. So can you get me a pre-approval letter? So I get a pre-approval letter, and I look, and this guy had bought like 9 houses in about a 2-month period.
Wow.
And I remember thinking to myself, his name was Mike. I remember thinking to myself, this guy's the dumbest guy in the world, right? I mean, this dude is buying at a time when it's just tanking. These houses that he's buying, they could drop another 30%, right?
Yeah.
Well, today, okay, and his agent, Javier Mendez, Shay. And so Javier's trying to get Mike to do, like videos now, because Mike today has like 30 homes, and his net worth is like, I think, like $20 million, right?
Wow.
Because he was buying homes, and when everybody thought this dude was nuts,
Mhm.
right? I mean, like literally me too. I thought this dude is going to be in bad financial shape a year from now. But guess what happened? Everything he held, he bought, he held.
No,
All those houses he picked up for 130 and 140,000 are now worth 500 and 600,000 today. And it enabled him to do cash out refinances and buy apartment buildings. And he just massive real estate portfolio today uh, because he went in when everybody else said no way, right?
which is what those so
That's what those guys do.
and it's hard because mentally you're like you're buying into the fear of the market and all of this stuff, but people like I don't know if Warren Buffett does it this way or not, but a lot of people just have the most successful people have an inverse thinking.
Yeah,
So buy when other
contrarian.
people are buying, sell when other people are selling.
Right, right. Be fearful when everybody else is confident, and be confident when everybody else is fearful.
That's the quote I was
And it
thinking.
doesn't always work, but it does work a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and you know, and look, you know, to me there's just never a bad time to buy a house if you're going to be a long holder. If you're, you know, if you're looking to buy a house and
Yes.
sell it in a year, no, you know, I don't know that I would buy a house right now either. But if you're looking to buy a house to live in and be there at least 5, 6, 7 years, you're never going to be able to time the market. So you go
Yeah.
in and, you know, look, I bought my first house when I was 24 years old, Shay. I didn't
Mhm.
plan on the thing appreciated. I didn't know about appreciation. I was just trying to, I was just sick of paying rent. Interest rates were, I think, 14.5%.
Yeah.
My house payment was like $1,300 on like a $110,000 loan. Um,
Wow.
yeah, but I didn't even, you know, and I sold that house like 5, 6 years later. I think we netted like $10,000, maybe barely enough to buy even, you know, on top of what my down payment was. Um,
Myself,
barely had
yeah.
enough to buy my next house, which
Yeah.
upsized me, but we didn't think about it back then. And that was, you know, that was in the late 80s. So we just didn't think about our home as a investment profit center. We thought
Right.
about it as, hey, hopefully it'll appreciate a little bit per year and we get the tax deduction. And you know, I was starting a family, I had my first daughter, and it was just a roof over our heads. We didn't want to rent. And so but we
This
just,
is 100% appreciate or interest, right?
yeah, you know, but today the whole mindset is different. Like, I want to
Yeah.
buy a house, it needs to go up 50 grand a year, and or I'm not
Yeah.
buying it. And just that's wasn't the way it was forever. And it hasn't been that way for most of history, but there have been pockets, and in the recent past, obviously, where we've seen 20 and 40% appreciation over a small period of time, which now everybody wants that, right? So
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily sustainable or realistic. We did have just a few crazy years here lately. But I think that, Aaron, you agree is that real estate is a long-term investment. So the people that use it as a long-term wealth building tool and as an asset in that situation, I mean, I would say that all the time it pans out as long as you can do long term and you
yeah,
don't sell when the market is low, which is only a few blips in the history. So
yeah.
that's what I tell my clients. Like,
You only lose on any investment. You only lose if you have to sell less than what you paid. So it doesn't matter if the market goes down, or it doesn't matter if it depreciates 10 or 15%. Look at everybody in Vegas, right?
yeah,
So in Vegas, when it depreciated, whatever the crazy number was, 60%, 70%, whatever it was,
yeah,
all those homes came back over time. Now, not everybody was able to wait that out. So some people took losses and had short sales and all that stuff. But if you would have waited, right now, not a lot of people have patience to wait, but if you would have bought at the worst time, like in '07, and you waited till today to sell 16 years later, you would have crushed it again, right? So
yeah.
yeah, you would have had to suffer through 50, 60% depreciation, but if you weren't selling, it didn't matter.
That's right. I'm gonna pull up this house that I bought, in North Las Vegas, the Penn Farm, right? Uh, I bought my I bought my one of my first house in Las Vegas. Um, in gosh, what was that? 2000 to 2011, I want to say. Um, I bought it. It's a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,344 square foot house on a 10,000 square foot lot. And at the time, it was like 5 years old. I bought that thing for $130,000,
Yeah,
which was what? I don't
60
even know.
bucks a foot.
Yeah, 60, but I was gonna say 50, 55, but you're 60 is right. And today it's worth, that's Redfin estimate, 442. Uh,
Yeah,
and
right.
just think if you would have bought Just like their guy, Mike. I think if I would have bought 10 of those, he ended up selling it, and I made like $8,000 maybe on it.
Well, and and probably Shay, you were nervous when you bought it.
Oh, well, yes, nervous and excited. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I paid 5.5 or 5.75% interest. No
Yeah.
problem. I mean, I don't know any different anyway. I was just like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I don't care. I just want the house, I'm like, was
Right.
excited to get in a house. Even if it was by the pig farm, which farm isn't there anymore, right?
No. Yeah, they got rid of that, right?
Yeah, they did. So it was like the guy that owned it forever. I mean, posted ones of houses out there, and then they built all the housing around it. He all complained that he was there, and he was there way before anybody else.
Yeah.
And then I think he passed away, and then kids
Sold
were,
it.
able to be persuaded financially to sell and move. So I bet you there are houses where that pig farm is. But anyway, whoever knew that, the house on the pig farm would be worth $450,000
Yeah, I mean, and that's and that
11 years later.
and that's the point, right? You just never know. Like Shay, 2 years ago, if I had said to you, interest rates are going to be approaching 8% 2 years from now, what would you have said?
Well, then, how do you know that? There's no way.
Yeah, right, right. You would have said no way. If I would have said, what are the chances? What are the chances 1 to 100?
Yeah, just 5%.
Right,
Would be the
right,
guess. I mean, it's possible, but highly unlikely.
right. Highly unlikely, highly improbable. Like I really
Yes.
believe that because the Federal Reserve had come in and brought rates down for literally 20 years,
Yep.
I didn't think they would let them get this high. I thought,
It's high this fast.
housing is center to our economy. We need Home Depot running. We need Lowe's running. We need contractors working. We need all this stuff. The Fed is never going to let rates go to 8% or 10% ever again. But guess what?
Yeah.
We're pretty darn close today, and there's a
We're
good
not.
chance. And
What
it's
do you
not.
see for the average right now you've been reporting on
I
for
mean,
the 30-year?
average conventional rates probably 7.125 today.
Okay.
Government loan, FHA, VA, probably 6.625, somewhere in there. That,
Okay.
and by the way, that's average. If you're out there, you may be able to get it lower. You may be higher because of your credit score, your down payment, whatever. I'm just talking averages, average rates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the average rate being over 7%. I mean, you would have asked me or Shay 2 years ago, I would have said you're crazy. No way, not happening.
Yeah. It just shows that, we don't know what's going to happen. And all we can do, and I think that the best professionals out there are just talking about the data, talking about what you saw last week, talking about what you saw in the last month. We're talking about the comparison of year over year. That's the stuff that makes sense. And the people that are just talking made up numbers or fluff or what they think is going to happen or predicting without any data behind it, well, that's just irresponsible. But, you have to have data and numbers to back up what you're talking about. And that's what I love about you is that you are just talking about data. And I like how people like to jump on your stuff and try to twist that into something that you never said or whatever. It's just man, like my opinion. This is the facts I'm reading from full reports and data that's out there. And sharing data,
Yeah, data is data. I mean, you can try to twist it if you want, but the data is the data. And look, we've talked about this on before, Shay, is that if you're a first-time homebuyer, if you're renting today, okay, you got to just jump in. And I know that rates are high, and I know payments are high, and home prices aren't where you want them to be, but you got to get on the ladder, because the only way that you climb the ladder is by being on the ladder. And so it's never going to be the right time, but it's never the right time to rent. And so even if it's more expensive in your market to buy than rent, I still think you got to get on the ladder, or you got to find a way on the ladder. And you and I have talked about this before, Shay. We live in a global society today. You don't have to just buy where you live. If you live in Las Vegas, or you live in LA, or you live in San Francisco, and the home prices are too high, go buy a house in Iowa. Go buy a house in Oklahoma. Go buy
Michigan,
the Midwest is on fire right now, right? Michigan, Ohio,
Ohio's good.
Missouri. All these states are seeing home prices go up because there's a bunch of people are migrating into those areas for affordable housing. You can still get a killer house for under $200,000 in a lot of places. So go buy one of those. Try to work remote. You don't have to be there forever. right? I mean, just get on the ladder. We just talked about people that own their home in the last couple of years made 40% equity. Right now, that's probably not going to happen again. But I just told you that Zillow predicted 6 and 7 the next 2 years.
Yes.
That to be wrong, but if you bought a house, what's the average price out in Iowa, Shay?
Well, it depends on where, but I can Cedar Rapids is specifically about 185,000.
185,000. So you get nice price, super nice house for 200 grand, right? So if
Sure.
you bought that house for 200,000 or decent house, what's a nice house?
Probably like 8, 4, whatever. 6 and 7s, that's
Yeah.
top tier.
But let's just say you bought a $300,000 starter home or $250,000.
We're gonna get a really nice house for 350 grand. Really nice.
Let's say you get a nice starter house for 300 grand. Okay.
Yep.
Now it appreciates 6% 1 year. There's 18, and then the next year appreciates 7%. It's harder for me to do 318 times 7. Let's just say 22. Now that's a $340,000 house, according to Zillow. With what we're going on, I mean, to pay. Where else are you going to make 40 grand the next 2 years to live in a house? Right. So, and it's actually more than that, because if you do a down payment assistance program or you only put 3.5% down, you will have put down 3.5% of 300, which is only, it's about 10,000, and made 40. Right. So
Yeah.
you'll have made 30,000. It's not really you paid 3 and sold it for 340. It's cash on cash investment. Where else are you going to invest 10 grand to make 40?
Right. Yeah. That's the funny thing is if you're paying rent in any way, shape, or form, that's all going to down the drain. So like I think it is $1,500 a month is 18,000 a year, right?
Right.
And and then you're also missing out on that what do you just talk about? So let's call that, what do you call it, 40 grand? So 40 grand plus 18, that's 58 grand. It's like almost $60,000. You're flying down the toilet because you're renting a
Right.
$1,500 a month place.
Yeah, and you're paying for shelter anyway. It's not like you're not paying this. You're paying for shelter. You're paying for a place to live, but you're just too tied to where your city is. Now, some people can't work remote, okay, or they can't do it. I understand those, but almost everybody today can work remote in some capacity, or certainly if you made it a point to your boss and said, look, home ownership is very important to me. I can't afford a home where I'm at. I can't afford a home over here. What can we do to move my job over there so I can work remotely? And I'll make sure I'll come in every couple months or whatever I got to do. I'll make sure that I'm on video all the time. What do you need me to do? I want to be a homeowner, right?
Yeah.
And most bosses are going to be understanding. They don't want to lose you today. The unemployment is so low, they can't afford to lose you. So know your self-worth. And look, they may tell you no, buzz off, but it doesn't hurt to have the conversation. Go have the conversation, right? How valuable am I as an associate? I really want to be a homeowner. Maybe you can help me out, right? Or maybe they tell you, hey, guess what? We'll give you a grant to stay here.
Oh yeah.
You
So
know?
they want to keep you right now, that's for sure.
Right.
And the other option is too, if just moving isn't an option at all, which for a lot of people, they aren't as fluid in that capacity, so I like the idea of just you buy something somewhere else. You don't have to live in it. You can still rent where you're at. And then you can buy a house in Michigan or Ohio, Cleveland, Cincinnati. These are great cities for return on investment investment homes. They have long-term renters. They've been there forever and ever. The houses don't appreciate much there. Expensive to get into, $40,000-$50,000, let's say. And they have long-term renters. Some of them are even Section 8. So the government's been paying for their rent for, call it 10, 15 years already. They work the same job. They're not going anywhere. It's a great investment. As long as you get the infrastructure, you don't want to buy something that's going to cost a bunch of money to put into it. So if it has good solid infrastructure on the house and all of that, you got a long-term renter, you're just getting the cash flow, the monthly cash flow. And that could be $700 to $900 to $1,000 a month on one of those properties I was just talking about. It's after paying for a property management company to rent it for you for 10%. So people start thinking that. And you know what you need for that? So let's call it a $40,000 house. What is that? That's $8,000. That's $8,000. Well, or do you need 25% for that?
Yeah. For investment?
Yeah.
I can get away with 20.
So $8,000.
Yeah.
So grand, figure that out, save that up for a year, whatever it takes to get to $8,000, put it on there, and then you're profiting. Get super conservative. Let's just say you profit $500 a month.
Yeah, I just did a loan for a lady, bought this rural home in Georgia. like $110,000 home she bought. The rental survey came back at $1,400 a month. So, I mean, she's going to rent 110. I mean,
How much was it?
$1,400 a month on a $110,000 home.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's like 13% cash on cash a return. And so she and like I was like, oh my God, are there other houses like that? She's like, yeah, there's a ton out here like that. And so I literally did a Zillow search the whole state of Georgia for homes under 150,000, and there was a bunch like that. But so there you go, and she was paying a property manager 7%, and so she thought she could rent it out for $1,300 a month. So yeah, so $100
So
a
you know
month.
what? Another thing, Aaron, is that there's people out there like they're going to put $8,000 down on a car.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
And
you're going to
that
rent.
cars cost you money all the whole time you have it. You're going to sell it for less. If you put $8,000 on a house in Georgia, Ohio, or wherever you're at, it's going to pay you $500 a month.
Right.
Buy your car for free because the house is paying for it. It's
Right.
just a different level of mindset, and so if people would just take a bigger, like, oh gosh, man, I can hardly pay my bills all week and all that stuff. I mean, understand that people are in those positions. Well, just look, why don't you struggle for a few months, save up $8,000, for example, and go out there and buy one of these properties that pays you monthly to have it. That's just a whole new way of thinking that anybody can do. You
Yeah.
out there listening to this, this is something you can easily do. I'd be happy to talk you through on how to do it. Even help you come up with a game plan on how to stop that savings. Like I do this for a living, is help people pick a goal, and then we talk, monthly until we get to the goal and how to get there and the steps to get there.
Well,
So
and
we can help you with that. Aaron can help you with that.
also, Shay, I promise you, if you had a property picked out, let's just say you have no money, but you had a property, you said, look, I have this property in Georgia, I can get it for 110,000, probably need to put 10,000 into it. We can rent it for 1,400 a month, 1,500 a month. I've done all the numbers. Here's the projections. Here it all is. You could take that to probably 20 different people that you know in your life, or somebody who knows somebody, and say, look, let's go in partners. I will manage it. I will make sure that the property manager is doing their thing. I will keep you out of it. I just need you to be my partner on the down payment. And then I'll continue to look for these things. And your cash on cash return on investment, I'm going to give you 6% on your money, right? Or 7% of your money. Anything that's better than 5, because 5 they can get at a bank. So today it doesn't usually, that's the good news about high interest rates. Normally they're used to getting 0.5% on their money or 1% on their money from a bank, because interest rates are higher today than get 4 or 5. But if you could offer 6, 7, 8, 9, you will find somebody out there who's willing to give you 20,000, 25,000, whatever. And you just say, I'm going to give you 6% of your money, 7% of your money. There are people out there, they're in your neighborhood, they're friends of your family, maybe they're your family. So the first one, you go with partners. And so you just got to think a little bigger.
That's something that both you and I, so you out there listening today, if this is something that's interesting to you, and you even just want to learn more about, oh, I've never really thought about that. Is that something I could really do? Well, yeah, give me a call, shoot me a text, reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and say, Shay, you know what? I'd really like to talk to you about, taking the steps or figuring out how I could do what you guys were just talking about. And then depending on where it is, and Aaron is always a huge resource for me and any of my clients anywhere in the country. So we would be happy to walk you through that, because just like Aaron said, the best now is the time to get on the ladder. Stop playing the game in one way or another. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can be very small, and there's different ways to do that. And it can be, with partnerships, it can be minimally exposed your money, so you don't have to have very much money, and you put it in collectively, and then we can help guide you the rest of the way. And if it's not a market that I'm exactly in, or Aaron is in, we both have really good resources we have agent partners all over the country that I work hand in hand with and have used over and over in the years. So always be able to
reach out. The important thing is we like to see people get on the ladder. So get on the ladder. If you're in a market we're not in, we'll help you find the team. We'll help put your team in place. We'll help you get an agent. We'll help you get a lender. No problem. But it's important that you get on the ladder, because if not, if you're waiting, what are you waiting for? Right? I'm waiting for rates. If you say I'm waiting for rates to come down, well, guess what's going to happen when rates come down? You're not going to be alone on that $115,000 house that is paying $1,500 a month. Once rates come down, there's gonna be a lot more people who say, I'm in now, right?
Yep,
So,
especially those entry level,
right
those
now
low
you can,
price points.
right?
Yeah. And then you know what, here's just a quick kind of thing is the huge investment firms and the corporations that own the big like Blackstone and who are a couple big ones.
Yeah.
They're buying like crazy right now. They know that this is a good time to buy when other people aren't, and you can get the houses for low. That's what they want to do. That's smart.
You know what's interesting about that, Shay, and I talk about it, and right now they are selling for the first time too. That normally they don't sell, but right now they're selling because they're seeing what we're all seeing. What we told you
Yeah,
about
cash it out.
told you about the top of the call. I can sell this thing for 10 or 15% more than it's worth. I'm a seller. But what's interesting when they buy a house, they don't worry about the market. They don't worry about the market appreciating. All they care about is the rental. Can I
Cash
rent
flow.
this thing out? Because will it cash flow? And really,
Yep.
if you think about it, that's how, if you know, even on your own owner occupied property, something to think about, which is if I had to leave tomorrow, could I rent it out? And how much could I rent it out for? And so, you know, so like all these people out there, Shay, that, you know, like, and I encourage if you own your home, call a real estate agent and say, what can I rent this out for? Because think about this. If you, let's just say you have a 2.25 rate or 3.25 rate, today rates are 7.25, right?
It's hard to give up.
What could you rent your house out for? So let's say you have this awesome $700,000 house, but you're only paying $1,500 a month because you have a super low rate. The house probably rents for $3,500 a month.
Yep.
So you're costing yourself $2,000 a month by staying in your house, right?
Yep.
You're like, well, no, Aaron, because I got to move. $2,000 a month is going to your new purchase or your rental or whatever, right?
Yep.
When else are you going to get an opportunity to make $2,000 a month in real estate, right?
Yep.
There's an amazing opportunity for you to scale your real estate business because you're in this super low rate for the next 30 years. And guess what? Rents aren't going to come down, right? Even if you look at the concept of inflation, look at the Fed is trying to get inflation down to 2%. Well, remember, it went up 9% last year. They're not trying to get that 9% back. They're saying 2% inflation per year. So if you, from the 9, 2% would be 11 from where we started.
Yeah.
You follow me?
They're trying to slow it down.
Yeah, they're just saying slow down growth. Same thing happens with your rents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like if today you could rent it for 2,500, it's not gonna go down to 2,000 tomorrow. It may only go up to 2,512 the next year, but it may go to 2,800 the next year, right? So you're in a 2.5% or 3.5% rate. You're fixed for 30 years. Your payment's not going to change, right?
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I can't believe people are thinking small. And everybody watches all these seminars about how do I scale my real estate business. You're being given the greatest opportunity to scale today. But you got to take the next step. Just do the research. You don't have to do it. Call Shay. Get an agent in your area and say, if I rented my house, how much could I make? With a property manager, because you don't want to fuss with it. So, so I mean, I just think that so many people are missing that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of strategies, and it's different per person, per place, per everything. So everybody has unique needs, and that's something that we go through on a case by case. Where I have people call me all the time and say, "Hey Shay, I want to talk to you about this," and whatever the situation is, and then we go over their whole situation and what it is they want to think of, and I'm like, "Okay, well, have you ever thought about doing this?" Or, okay, so like people like Aaron and me both have been in this a long time. We don't have to pressure somebody into doing something. We just don't do that. All we do is we're consultants and we go through and come up with ideas and opportunities and sort through things. And maybe somebody still is like, okay, cool. Well, thank you for all of that information. And they don't do anything. And that's fine. We're not in this to get a sale right now or whatever. We're just trying to we're going to educate people and help people make good decisions and think bigger and think differently. And then you do what you want with it. And then we can stay in touch or whatever. My point is there's no pressure or obligation ever when people talk to us. We're here to just really educate and help people and be business consultants. And I think that's what makes true professionals stand out compared to other people that are just really trying to get them.
Yeah, if somebody's trying to force you to sell or really to convince you to sell, you need to like walk away from that person. Because what you want to do is you want to just look at the data and absorb the data. And does it make sense for you? Look, it may not make sense for you at all to make 2,000 a month renting your house, and because where you have to go or whatever, or you're tied to your market because you have kids or grandkids or whatever, and you can't downsize, whatever. I mean, but at least do the research to know the numbers, to know the opportunity that you're choosing to pass. And so But because what the worst thing to do is to then look back 10 or 15 years and say, I could have done this. I love telling this story, Shay, where my dad back in the day, he wasn't a beach guy, but he went and bought a beach house in Malibu. Okay. He bought a beach house in Malibu when I was in high school. Okay. And he got this fixer upper 5 doors down from Steven Spielberg, Shay. Okay.
Wow.
In this area called the Colony. My dad paid $900,000 for that house, which was a ton of money back then.
Oh,
Okay?
wow. Yeah.
Paid $900,000, and I was like 17 at the time, so it would have been like 1982. Okay. Paid $900,000 for this house, right? And house was super nice, but he started to put some work into it. And then in the winter, the beach is cold in the winter in California.
Yep.
Okay. It's not sunny. And my dad went, and he didn't go that often because he had another house where his primary was, but he went and it was too cold. And every time he'd go to the beach, it was too cold. So he sold the house for $850,000. He took a $50,000 loss on that house. House is worth $28 million today,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Jeez.
so it just, you don't want to be my dad. Don't be my dad, right?
Yep.
You got to know your opportunity. You got to listen to the people around you. Everybody around him was like, dude, do not sell this thing, rent it out, whatever.
Yep.
But he just was fed up with how cold it was, right? So you got to know the information. He didn't know the information that he just would have, he would have talked to a few agents. They would have told them, stay tight, rent it out. We can help you rent it out for close to your mortgage. You don't want to sell this home, right? And so here we are. You know, I wouldn't be working today, Shabby. I would have sold that home years ago. I would have made a ton of money.
You on that house, you're sitting on that house. Dang it. I wish my parents had bought a bunch of houses and just kept them for us. And that's what we're doing for our kids is we'll be buying them investment properties as we go. And just let them sit on that.
I once sat on a panel. I was in the audience of a big mortgage panel, and there was like 5 mortgage loan officers, all top producers on this panel. And the first 4 were like, talking about their lives and how they became successful in mortgage and all this other stuff. The last guy was in his late 50s, like me today. And he said, I don't need to do another mortgage the rest of my life because I'm going to give you the advice that somebody gave me 30 years ago. He said, buy a house every single year. Yeah. Doesn't need to be $1 million house. It could be a $50,000 house, could be $100,000. Every year, make sure you buy a house. Do your best not to have to sell them, right? Yep. And he goes, today, I don't need to do this anymore. But I'm gonna give you some mortgage advice, but there's no mortgage advice I can give you that's better than that advice because that changed my life. And that is an amazing piece of advice. That was he bought one house a year. Didn't matter whether the market was on fire. Didn't matter if rates were 15 or 3. He bought a house every single year. And so here he is.
I think that's sound advice, and I think that's a perfect way to wrap up our show today. Is buy a house once a year, or buy a house. Period. Get involved in real estate. Start playing the game. So start small. Start somewhere. Learn about it because you can't really know and feel and experience it without actually experiencing it. So figure out a way to get involved, get started in some small way in the ways we've been talking about. Or if you have more disposable income or just income that you can use to actively invest in different things. I mean, almost everybody that's wealthy in the country has become exponentially more wealthy through real estate investments. All of them, every single one of them. All the rich performers, singers, movie stars, they all have real estate investments that they profit on hugely. So no matter what, it's just good to get in and start learning the basics. Or if you already know the basics, to start expanding or coming up with new ideas to expand your portfolio. And people that are already doing that do already understand that. So happy to have those conversations with you anytime. And Aaron, thank you so much for joining us again today. And always a pleasure talking with you. And you just have so much information, and it's fun to talk to you. And you have neat stories about your dad and your whole life. You have the craziest stories out there, which are really cool to listen to. So.
Thank you, Shay. And hey, one more reminder on TikTok, Instagram at Aaron Knows Home Loans, on Facebook, Aaron.Gordon.186. Give me a follow.
You won't be disappointed by watching Aaron's stuff, and it's easy stuff to digest every day. So it's really cool to watch his stuff. So thanks again, and join us all next Tuesday. We have shows Tuesday and Thursdays at 11 a.m. Central. We have Tuesdays is Sharpen the Saw, where we talk about different tips and tricks on how to sell real estate in a better way or engage in the community. And then our Thursdays are the real estate market updates, and it's at the Wise Agent Society. So we're looking forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Aaron.
Take care.
Yeah.